Today we have with us Marti Rogers. She's a financial professional who's driven to help women get total clarity about what it takes to become financially independent. Most women Marti works with have done a great job saving money, but are missing the link to creating a sustainable savings plan and retirement income. Something to think about. This for Marti, in a few minutes, you're going to get to hear her story. But it all began for her in 2016 when she found herself evolving to the other side of being primary advocate for her mother's health care and estate planning needs. Her concern for women was heightened by the lack of encouragement and support for women to be more involved with their money. And that's when she transitioned her career into the financial industry, as she knew there needed to be a way to bridge this gap. And she believed she could make that impact. Marti has a deep connection and passion for empowering women to achieve this clarity and confidence and certainty and take the action necessary towards their financial independence. She feels this can be the most life-changing and transformational decision a woman can make for herself and her legacy. We're really excited to hear from you today, Marti, and excited to hear as Ramona kind of pulls some of your story out of you so you can share that with us. We thank you for being here today.
Woohoo! Thank you, Emily. I have to say, I'm surprised at the level of interest in this topic, Marti. Are you, Emily? Did that kind of take you by surprise too?
Yes, we had about 100 people register for this webinar.
More than that.
And a lot of questions.
A lot more than that. And it's going up. We were really tickled that that everyone thought it was so exciting and so important that they set aside time in their day. Now, see, our WifeSavers members are going to be able to access this forever after. Our premium members, as Emily referred to. But even they are taking time out to be in the live setting with you. And so I think that's very interesting. Before I pick your brain, I have to tell you what else I think is really interesting. That you talk about legacy in financial terms for a woman. That's very unusual. In fact, I don't know that I've ever heard that, like a woman, that should be by default a woman's, thought pattern, that we should be thinking about our financial legacy. I think of, obviously, traditionally, that's a male, concern. And we're certainly, as married women, partners in that. But I just love this idea. Of course, everything that I do, my life's work is all about empowering. It's a good word, maybe a little overused out there, but it is true. We want to give women the sense of, and I love, Marti, your alliterations. You use the word, the C words, clarity, confidence, and certainty. And I believe that that's what I do. I give women clarity, confidence, and certainty in their relationships, particularly their partnership with their husband, but all of their relationships. And that is what I do. But in order to do that, women have to be clear and confident and certain about themselves first. So the woman always comes first in my concern and in my order of teaching relationship principles. We don't even get to the relationship stuff until we're feeling, I love those words, clear, confident, and certain about ourselves. So I love, too, that you make it clear that connection to your money, to your resources, if you will, that is a huge factor in that sense of clarity and confidence and certainty in ourselves. It has a lot to do. Unfortunately, we wish we didn't need money. We wish we didn't have to think about it. But once we embrace it, think about it, and then use it to our advantage and feel confident in that, we explode in our own sense of worth and clarity and confidence and certainty moving into the future. So that's what I'm really excited to talk about. I just wanted to make it clear to you that that's how I feel about what you do. And I'm just very, very excited. And that's also how I see what I do and what you do as being very, very complementary. Right? So turn on your mic if you can do that, or I'm happy to do it for you.
Okay.
Emily, there you
Great.
go.
Success. Thank you so much. What a fabulous introduction, Emily and Ramona. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for seeing this topic as worthy and as important as I do. I knew it didn't take long once we start to connect. And I didn't know that you do this once every 3 months. So I don't take that lightly. That is huge. Thank you. And I'm so grateful to all those many ladies, amazing people that have registered for this, and those who are listening to it afterwards, maybe even again and again. So
yes,
that's how I hope this can really serve you,
Yeah,
and,
right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what will happen. In fact, I've already planned to listen to it again and to make my honey listen to it.
Good, because that's the whole intention as well. We don't want to leave out them, for sure.
For sure. Okay. So, here's the classic. What got you into this? What had such an impact on your life? Because I know from my experience, you don't jump into the kind of work that you and I do, where we're just taking on the world on our shoulders in a sense, and that we just want to open our hearts to everybody and make a difference in everybody's lives. You don't go into that kind of work unless something very compelling happens in your life personally, right?
That's absolutely correct.
So I'm dying for you to share your compelling experience with our WifeSavers.
Wonderful. Well, I wanted to also, before I do that, or as I begin this, I want to say, as I read the questions, I received 17 questions by email last night by Emily. And I want everybody to know that I'm not here as a spectator. I can resonate with the questions, and I felt very moved, and I already felt like I connect with you on a, core level, yes. And for these women to feel psychologically safe to put out their questions, knowing that, somehow there's a really good chance I'll be able to address it. And I'm going to do that today, and I'm going to make myself available, to talk to them if they want to afterwards. However, this all started for me, I would say, in my early young adulthood, I was really, led and mentored by both my parents to really, be in the habit of saving, and basically did what, my dad told me to do. And he died a few years afterwards, and there was no signs of that even happening. And that pattern, that habit is the foundation, the backbone of not falling into deep waters during times when it wasn't so easy in life. And moving forward in my mid-30s, I would say I was in, a position where, I was there to help my mom when she became ill. And she was ill for 10 years, and it progressed. And like you said, the heart-centered, giving, generous, kind people we see areas to how we can help and serve. And, going in, it makes sense. But over the period of 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, and then 10 years has a major progression and an impact in a very compounding way. Mm-hmm. And she asked me to take the lead in, very important areas of her life, which was a privilege. And when we're doing something, and I'm sure there's some people here at least that could relate to, maybe they've cared for somebody in their lifetime, and sometimes that's even our own families. And it's beautiful, and it's awful, and it's beautiful, and it's like touching God, and then it's horrible again. It's just a whole mix. And I have 2 adult sons, I'm married, and during this process I was raising a family as well and holding down a career. I would do it again if I had to. However, I would say there are some things that I would want to encourage a woman to pause and think about herself first. Like, does this make sense? Am I over leveraging myself and my own family to accomplish this? And so I kind of found myself in a situation where the back door slammed shut and there was no like jumping off, Not that I wanted to do that, but it was just, I was really in this whole, overwhelming, like swirling situation where all these moving parts. So I will say at the end and during that transition, it was really, for the first time, I thought I was savvy this whole time. But then I realized there were some missing pieces of understanding how to transition somebody's estate. And the system teaches us to focus on accumulation. That's important, absolutely. But they don't direct any light or segue around the distribution process.
How fascinating. Okay, so a lot of us know a little bit at least about
there's some of us that have started those waters already, right? And some of us, but so I'm speaking to
distribution is something no one's very schooled in.
Right.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So I want to shed light on like the notion, the idea of that. Mm-hmm. So this is part of like my story, right? So I felt like, where and how do I take the next step, and dodging any backlash as far as, you have to pay taxes, and I had to make some really big decisions, and it was really, isolating. And that's not a good feeling for a woman or anybody, but I just felt really isolating. I was going through grief. But
did you feel like you didn't know where to turn, or
I didn't know? Yes, and I had advisors at hand that were supposed to help me, and so if they were telling me that they felt conflicted in guiding me, I realized I'm in a whole world of hurt. If the only people I know to go to who are getting paid to help me gave me that response, I actually didn't speak those words to anybody for 15 months that was said to me. Because if I gave it life, that meant it was real.
So the message you were hearing was, I don't know for sure what to tell you to do. Is that what you heard? I
heard that, but more than that, I heard the news isn't really good, and I don't really know if I want to guide you in a way that's going to serve just me as the advisor, or knowing that there's something that I should know, so that in the bigger picture, legacy was being addressed.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. And so I was in a lot of emotional and mental pain, anguish, because I wanted to make sure, how could I make sure I put something in place for my children, and so that my husband and I could live a quality of life that we want to and deserve to. So in 2016, I was guided to a different professional who helped me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could put some things in place for my children now. And understanding some strategies, concepts, and programs that were suitable to help me get my goals. And that's what we want. We want clarity, confidence, certainty. Another C word is control. Now, that word can have a negative connotation, but for us to like want to have like control, that means clarity, confidence, and certainty, right?
You're right.
So that's what I mean. Like
the
control.
opposite is out of control.
Yes, those 3 C's.
Okay.
And I have chills right now because I'm glad that you pointed out the C's. I'm like, wow, this is something. And it's that, I'll tell you that those words are really turning heads. Like, let's talk more, Mm-hmm. So I was saying to Emily earlier today, like, if I could help a woman have a solid, world-class financial understanding in a very narrow time frame, I could empower her by understanding and knowing where she could put her money in savings to get the most optimal outcome.
Right.
Because what's holding us back a lot is, and sometimes we don't even know this, is how to save, where to save, and why. Like, what's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, so, good.
And then there's another one that was get out of debt and stay out of debt. It may not pertain to her directly, but maybe somebody she knows, but just understanding the negative impact of debt and how to leverage debt to our favor, which I'm not going to teach on that per se, but I can help people, inform them how they can, because these are some things that I've even learned later in my life, whereas we're brought up, with certain dogma, right? And of course, our parents have the best of intentions, right? And sometimes it's like, does that make sense today? If I really look at the big picture. Okay. So just imagine, like, understanding the basic concepts of money, that adds to the clarity, right? And then understanding where to put it, confidence, and then knowing how to navigate good debt and bad debt, and all 3 of those together, certainty. Just that's like initiating like one solid win, moving ahead.
Right.
And that just brings so much hope to the table.
Okay.
And feeling of optimism that, for me, and I'm speaking from like what I was like, oh my gosh, like when I looked at like my plan and how to implement it, I could see like 95% of my problems being addressed just by, solving my conflict of not knowing where to turn, not knowing who to talk to, and going into like this isolation. And those feelings, and a lot of them, people wrote them through their questions. These are things that are keeping people awake at night.
Yeah. It's so true. The anxiety level when you have money concerns, worries is just off the charts and eats away, especially at the woman who feels out of control.
Yes.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Absolutely. And, it really starts with a mindset. We're all good people, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't give ourselves permission or even say it out loud that I deserve to be wealthy. I deserve to be free, regardless of where I am standing today, but just opening up that, that channel for yourself of, I really deserve this. Like,
wow.
It doesn't make me a better person to be, or necessarily, a more genuine person because I have less, or I'm keeping myself, in a smaller capacity.
So you're saying we sabotage?
No judgment, but it's like, give yourself permission,
okay.
if that's what you want. Sorry, I overspoke.
So are you saying that we can or do sometimes actually sabotage ourselves by thinking small, as if it's a more virtuous way of thinking?
I think I talk to women all the time. So there are some women that want to make huge impact in their community, globally even. And after talking to them, they turn the corner on maybe that mindset of it not being necessary to be wealthy and abundant. they realize, well, how am I going to make the impact if I don't have wealth? One of my mentors has said, very amazing woman. She says, if you think having wealth is not a big deal or not important, then you don't understand what it's like to give it away.
Oh, interesting. So after you've experienced that, when you experience that,
like if you don't think it's worth it, you don't know what it's like to give it away, you know? And so I also want to say that another thing about this is a lot of people feel like it's going to change them. There's this dogma like, well, money is the root of all evil, you know? Yeah. So we don't want to be evil. Like, we're good people, right? Right. But money only enhances who you already are. If you're a great person, which we all are, it's going to only enhance that, magnify that, because we all want to make a contribution. Now, first and foremost, take care of yourself and your family first. Okay, so make sure you have that locked down. It's worth saying because we can get a little bit overexcited, right? It's like, oh, I can do this.
Yes, and yes, actually, I have talked with women like that who kind of put the cart before the horse.
I am a prime example. I got overzealous just because I could do it. Didn't mean I had to, and so yes, and it's all about confidence, certainty, and taking a stand for yourself, taking a stand for yourself when it comes to your marriage, taking a stand for yourself when it comes to your financial security and your future, you know? Right. So I just like to kind of really start with that, because without the mindset, all the amazing tools I can offer you won't really serve you, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, before, it's my time. I own my dreams, you know, and it's like, that's so reaffirming, you know?
Okay. All right. So everybody, let's just, if you're taking notes, this is something to write down. This is your affirmation at this point in the webinar. And we're all about affirmations at WifeSavers.
Oh,
it's my time. It's my time.
It's my time.
And what was the other thing you said after that?
I own my dreams.
I own my dreams. Oh, I love that. Okay. Are you writing this down, everybody? Write it all capitals. It's my time.
It's my time.
I own my dreams.
Oh. Can you imagine the gift you're giving, like your gift of what you have inside when you claim those affirmations? How our children and our spouses are primary beneficiaries.
Thank you.
They are.
Thank you for putting it that way. They are so true. And anyone who works with me, WifeSavers members, will really get, if you haven't gotten there yet, we'll really get into this in level 4. But you just nailed it, Marty. That our children and our partners become beneficiaries of our dreams.
While we're living.
There you go.
It makes sense, right?
Yes. But our posterity as well, even. So
absolutely.
I know you're going to talk a little bit about legacy as well. So keep going. We're all on fire now. Everybody's got their affirmation written down. It's my time. I own my dreams.
Right.
Give it to us. What next?
So I would like to segue into the 3 enemies that keep from becoming wealthy.
Yes. Oh, what a good question. Yeah. Tell us what's in our way so we can get it out of the way.
Okay. So commonly what we're seeing today is most families are underprotected and they're living in too much debt. Mm-hmm. And there's the uncertainty because there's no guidance in the foundation of our education system. So it's not out there. And so it starts with lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. The intention is probably, or like the desire is there, but there's no light shined upon how to do that and what to avoid. And living life by default. Right?
Oh, and yeah, we call that being reactive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And WifeSavers.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So the first one is lack of financial understanding.
Okay.
Lack of understanding.
I'm writing it down.
Me too.
Everybody else. Okay.
Okay. And number 2, because you don't have a lack of understanding, that also leads to a lack of discipline.
Oh, interesting. Boing. I bet a lot of us can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. And then which leads to number 3. Number 3, it leads to bad decision making. I know.
It seemed like a good decision in the moment.
Right. It's like, oh dear, oh shoot. And so, those are the 3 things. And, just to kind of elaborate it, to extend that as an example, like traditionally we all start in the same way. We grow up. Sometimes we start working as soon as we're 18. Sometimes we start school. Whether you start, whether you go to college or not, you eventually start a job, you make a income, and to support your lifestyle, including supporting the means to get you your career, paying our student loan debts, and not having the balance or the clarity or the focus of what to do with our money. And then that leads to borrowing because there's no money. And so now you're borrowed because you have no money. So now you have no money and you're in substantial debt. Okay. And it becomes a very vicious cycle, and it's impossible to get out of, because at the end of the day, we have 24 hours in a day. Most everybody is paid. 95% of the population are just exchanging time for money. So even if we double up and do 2 full-time jobs in the time that we have, it's still not going to do it. So it's a very precarious position that, most people are going to default to if they are not made aware or have access to the knowledge and the resources to keep them out of that, And it's
to keep us out of it and get us out of it.
Yeah.
It's prevention is the best approach, of course, but most of us are way beyond that. Yes. We're already in the cycle, that vicious circle. So.
Yes, to keep them out of it and to get them out of it. There are ways to get people out of it,
Okay.
So, but it makes it harder. It makes it harder, but it's possible. I mean, we have, examples in our world, not a lot, but a few of them who, single mom of a baby, vowed to her son, we will never be here again. I promise you. I promise you. And she just saved a minimum each paycheck, and she wouldn't look at her bank account. And then she finally looked. I don't know how many years it was, but she had $62,000 in her savings account at the bank. She cried. And it was just the consistency, which I'm going to lead into the habits that are going to help you become wealthy.
Okay. So right now we're still focused on the obstacles that are keeping us there.
The obstacles are lack of understanding.
Before you even got to lack of understanding, we talked about, for those who are just joining us, we're having people still coming in. First thing we really talked about was the mentality, the attitude of that. Yes. I deserve this. It's my time. I own my dreams, and giving ourselves permission to even delve into this subject and believe the tools will be effective and that they should be effective. And we have every right for them to be effective. So that's the first thing. And then you talked about the lack of understanding, which leads to the lack of discipline, which leads to bad decision making. Okay, what else is in our way?
So those are the 3 things. And so being willing to turn on the light, getting out of this takes courage.
Courage. My goodness.
Healing our relationships, for women to have certainty, confidence, and clarity in their relationships.
Yes.
It takes courage.
I'm telling you, my WifeSavers members are the bravest women on the planet.
Yeah.
Because they're willing to face what they don't know. They're willing to admit, I could do something better. Mm-hmm. Yes. That takes courage. I love that.
Takes a lot of courage. And everybody, could benefit from this, but the challenge is not everybody is willing to lean in from for themselves yet. Everybody has their time. So,
that's true. We have to be in the right place to really believe.
We have to be willing, and those, the willing and the brave are the ones that benefit the most at that time. So if you want my help, if you're ready for my help, let's take action and let's get fast results.
Okay.
And I love to get people those results fast. And sometimes it's getting one win. Because then it proves it to themselves. Like in 24 hours, I made this one shift. I made this one decision, and then they're like, now I want more, So,
okay.
Don't you find that true? Like when you help your women,
absolutely.
They're like, well, if I was able to do that with this wonderful support, what else can I do?
What else can I do? Love it. And it's also, can be so overwhelming otherwise. And
it really can.
That's why I think of broken down into small wins.
And, lack of discipline, when you don't have the foundation of like being on purpose, on point for yourself and your goals, it kind of doesn't have the stability of making good decisions, and not having the discipline to back it up. Now, when someone kind of guides us in a simple way, it's like, oh, okay, so if I just do this, this, and this, that would be better, right?
Yes. And it helps us be accountable too.
It does. And I think we all like that. We all feel good when we have that checklist, right?
Right. Yes.
And so
we love checklists. Us women, we just love our to-dos.
Very, very easy. So yes. And then, bad decision making. And these, I'll just say, just like the positive deposits we make have a compounding effect, the negative ones do too. So this isn't going to be a fix overnight. Okay. So I want, everybody to give themselves permission to be curious about the opportunities for themselves, curious about like what their vision is for themselves. And that is something that we want to on a daily basis fight for. Like we want to fight for our families. We want to fight for, peace. We want to fight for communication that's in flow, and we want to fight for getting to ourselves to where we ultimately want and deserve to be, So the good news is we can start to get wins, today.
We can get wins today, but if you've got a long-standing issue or dilemma, like you talked about the vicious circle that's many years have gone into, that isn't totally resolved overnight, but the little wins will get you there. The quick wins will start to
one important decision to stop the path of the negatives. Like if you put like the brakes on, like, okay, this could be where we say, this is like where I'm going to call it stop, and then start climbing back up. And you want to celebrate that. Right?
Right. Okay. So I'm all for this. I'm all excited. I want to write stop across my note paper here. What's on the other side of stop though? I have to know what to do next in order to feel confident enough to say stop.
Exactly. So it's good to at least acknowledge this, and it would only make sense to segue with some solutions, right? And that's where I want to go now.
Okay, good to us.
Yeah, so keys to building wealth are going to be what may seem like very benign things to do, but consistency over time will reap big rewards. So
there's another C word.
Yes,
consistency. You're so good at those C words.
It just keeps coming up. I'm going to write that down. Thank you. Consistency, because that's true. Consistency.
Okay. Which goes hand in hand with the D word, discipline. Right.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, we're ready. Give it to us.
Okay, so first we must learn to make the money, right? In which, if we're, at home, raising our kids, we may not have a job that going out there to get a paycheck, but we're working hard. So income is coming into the household, right?
Right.
So based on that, we want to make it, and we want to keep it, okay, as much as possible. Keeping it means understanding how to position your money in places where it's going to have the most protection, where you're going to have less tax exposure, for example. You're going to have more access to it, not only in the near future, but long term. And then you want to grow it. So habitually saving something, and even if, like, let's say somebody asked about a tight cash flow, where their income is very tight. How do you save for the future? Because I know this is really important, and it should be. So I'm so thrilled that this question even came out, because they're thinking about it and they're frustrated with it, which doesn't feel good. But it's good that we are concerned,
Right, because that frustration, concern needs to change, which is another C word.
I want to say that it's important to get into the habit. It's our habits of saving. And I'm not going to emphasize the importance of how much, but whatever it is, do it, and do it consistently, right?
Okay, so the trick is not really how much, it's how consistent.
Now, how much will play a piece, of course. But I want people to start doing for themselves in a positive way, because it's the habit that's going to lead to doing more, because that's when the creativity starts to open doors and seeing the possibilities once they understand how the money game works. How the rules work so they can win the game,
Oh my goodness. So you're talking about this idea of making it and keeping it and making the most of it like a game, and you just need to learn the rules.
When you know the rules, you win the game.
You know what? For me, Marty, that makes it less intimidating.
That's the whole thing. Is to be able to be received by women in the way that I want them to. First of all, I've been where you are, and I'm still not perfect, right? It's like, but if you could conform to like the 80-20 rule, I haven't been perfect. I haven't, but that 80% has protected me when I needed the protection the most, You know
what? I want to back up real quick. You talked to, I love coined phrases and words that help me hook big ideas, right? And so you talked about making it and keeping it. And I'm thinking of my mother-in-law, who on her 50th wedding anniversary, we had a big shindig, and part of that weekend was we took him to an improv show, a comedy show. It was just loads of fun. And because it was their anniversary, they did a whole made-up skit song just for my in-laws. And they asked where do we start kind of idea. They asked my father-in-law, what do you do? Well, he'd been a salesman his whole life. And so he said, I sell things. And then they looked at my mother-in-law and they said, what do you do? And she said, I buy things. And the audience just fell apart. It was so perfect. Everyone died laughing. I sell things. I buy things. And so I think sometimes as women, when we're running a home, especially, we may fall into that thing of thinking how fast can I spend this money? Actually, do you know what I'm saying? Because I want this, and this kid needs that, and so we're just we need more because there's so many needs that we're trying to meet, and it goes. But you said make it and keep it. That's a little different for those who maybe in that mindset without realizing it of spend.
Because nobody ever tells us from early on, reserve something every single month, where you say, I'm taking, 200 every month and putting it over here, for example. I'm just using a number. And consistently. And sometimes I've put numbers out there for myself where I'm like, ooh, it's a little stretchy, but I have the knowledge of, and the understanding that if I'm willing to give up certain things, I can make it happen, So, and then all of a sudden something will shift, and say, because I had stated it or said, I want to be doing this. And that's based upon getting clear about what my independent number is, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
But I wanted just to mention that, like, that's what it stems from. And because, like I said in the beginning, people don't know how, where, or even why, what is the overall goal again? Even though, and some people are like doing a great job of saving. They're like, well, I have this and it's not really doing anything. And if I don't intervene, for example, if they're working with me and help them and guide them and direct them, it's going to eventually kind of go away.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to make it, we're going to keep it, which means positioning ourselves for protection, access, and growth. And we're going to focus, especially, we're going to prioritize consistency. That's just one of the basic rules in this.
The habits for sure.
The habits.
Huge habit. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not so concerned about how much, because if it's $100 amount, that's amazing. That's $100 that you didn't start. And so we can build on that. We can build on that,
Okay.
So
what's next?
Keeping it and growing it. And when you do that, even as benign as it sounds, like I started at, age 19, consistently putting away something every single month. We have employer-sponsored retirement or saving plans. Some of us have subscribed to, and just by the automation of it, it has helped. It may be good for some people, but there's no one size fits all. So I want to make sure I'm not saying I recommend this plan. So I'm not going to say anything in any one particular thing is bad, but is it the right plan for you right now, based on what your needs and goals are, right?
Oh, okay. And that will shift throughout life.
That's why we consistently want to look through our numbers and know our numbers, and talk to somebody who's not emotional about our numbers, because we're very emotional. Right?
Ooh, what a good point. What a good point.
Would you advise me if I'm in crises, right, at home? I'd say, Ramona, I like you, but you know what? I'm going to talk myself through this. I'm going to help you. You're like, you'd be like, oh my God, that's kind of scary. It's just I'm the expert. I can help you, and so it only makes sense for another set of eyes that are not attached, not emotional. And for me, I would not be okay, that's easy. Just, boom, boom, boom. Like a chess game, right?
Exactly.
For yourself, you're immobilized, almost but and all these things come up,
Yes. Oh, that's
and you
so good.
That's important that I want to reemphasize, and also kind of there's the opposite side too, whereas spend. Some people are save, and they're not. That's good, but I mean, they could optimize it by ultimately leveraging that so it'll serve them, where they're not constantly trying to control it, and it's kind of consuming and taking over their life, not in a really positive, empowering way.
Yes. So true.
It's not empowering. And those are areas that we as women, especially, we tend to default to that because we're more vision, we get really concerned about the deeper core stuff, our children.
Yes.
Children, we even go 4 generations deep, about thinking what's going to happen. I don't know about you, but for me, I worry. My mom was like that too, just that concern. And men, I know, are concerned too, but we wear it. We really are really good at it.
It's so true. And it's a deep, deep emotional issue with this. It's a mama bear kind of thing.
It is.
Yeah. Whoa. I absolutely love everything you're saying. I'm thinking of one of my team members, actually, who talks about money as being a form of energy.
Yes.
And a positive energy or a negative energy. Yes. And so the decisions you're making about whether you need to loosen up a little bit on you're spending, or whether you need to tighten down, batten the hatch a little more,
right.
and is based on a lot of smarts, but you have to avoid the emotional part of it too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have to address it, but when it comes to making very important decisions, you don't want to make a decision when you're having a really bad day.
Okay. Good advice.
In marriage and in money.
Yes. Don't make money decisions.
Even though you're thinking every fiber of your being is saying, do this.
Am I feeling emotional today?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Okay. So good. And everybody here is nodding their head. They know that's true.
I'm sure they are. That's why I told you. I already know them. I know them.
All right. Excellent. Oh, how excellent. So savings is one of the habits.
Yes.
That's another good habit.
Consistency. So I said that. Okay. Consistency and, putting that in priority, like no matter what, that's what I'm doing, you know, and educating yourself, reading good books.
Oh, good.
And I can recommend a couple books to you.
But like that.
Yeah, because it's important, I have this one book that I could recommend to you and the listeners, and I just love it. Can I just hold it up real quick?
Please.
It's a book called What Would the Rockefellers Do?
What a cool title.
By Garrett Gunderson. Now, the Rockefellers.
Emily, can you put that in chat for us?
What Would the Rockefellers Do by Garrett Gunderson. Legacy, substantial wealth, cash flow, impact, freedom, cash flow banking. So, believe it or not, once you read it, it's like, this is like simple, foundational, right? And this is how the Rockefellers become more wealthy every generation. They don't degenerate.
Interesting.
So applying the simple concepts and following them, is key, and it just kind of makes it more predictable. And, like if you're feeling baffled, like the question, like the author says, one could ask themselves, what would the Rockefellers do? Well, what would the Rockefellers do? And it's something that's easy to implement right away.
Okay.
So,
wow. Well, we love information. We love education.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to, because I figured that would probably come up. Like, what favorite books do you have? And I'm thinking, like, this would be something that if someone got their hands on and read it, it would definitely even make more clear of like what I help women and just people to focus on. And this is not only, individuals, families, but businesses too. Okay. Someone asked a question about a family business, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is just golden.
Okay.
To have like this opportunity to address these questions, because some people won't even ask,
Yes.
Even though I know, though I know, like, okay, so if someone, you meet someone, that they're not asking you any questions, but you already can have a strong sense of what some underlying problems might be, some challenges, right?
Right.
So it's a beautiful thing that women are just putting it out there, and knowing that there's that psychological safety.
Yes.
That is really, really important.
Speaking of questions, we have a whole, like I said, we have a bunch of them, and Emily's going to try and sort of synthesize them as much as possible. And I want to get to those questions. But first, you talked about something called a financial independent number.
Yes.
Tell us what that is and how we figured that out for ourselves and why it's important.
This is something that the traditional, or any financial system, but especially the traditional financial system has done a very poor job on. And I'm just saying, because it's just the truth,
Yeah,
it's not the schools, and even in the financial space, it's not really talked about of helping people identify what's their ultimate independent number, which means how much money you have access to at one time when you're at that retirement age, whatever that is for you, and how much money needs to be coming into your household every single month.
Wow. Okay. How do we figure that out?
Let me just say this. Let's be curious. Okay, let's be curious. Let's not go crazy.
Super curious.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to just go cry now. Don't do that, because not one of us is going to be at the place yet, but it's going to kind of, put things in perspective,
Okay. I like that you said, be curious.
Be curious. Be curious.
So don't be afraid of the reality.
Don't be afraid of it, because you know what? We're all every day are going to take these steps to get ourselves closer to it,
Okay.
But it's going to bring a sense of energetic certainty or confidence that this is the right thing for me to do. Like, oh boy, I need to take action.
We're right back to that clarity idea.
Don't we want ourselves and each other to take action for our own good? Right. So
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to speak out these questions. There's going to be 4 of them.
Okay.
I'll give you a minute to write down your answers. And this is for you. I want to encourage you to take this home to your spouse. If you have a spouse, and use this as an opportunity to have an engaging conversation, not too serious, curious as well. So,
and it's being pointed out that curious is another C word for us.
Oh gosh, you're brilliant.
You also mentioned courage. We were talking about courage. Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're ready for our 1, 2, 3, 4 questions.
And there's no right or wrong response here. Okay.
Okay.
But the first question is, at what age would you like to retire? Now, retire means you just don't work. It means that you may want to continue to work or explore your skills, your hobbies, and that could be at whatever age, right?
Okay, so you just want to do something different.
You may want to do something different, and you may not have to work for the money, but you may still work because you like to, work. Yeah. You like to be of service.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Number 2, how much money would you like to have saved total when you do retire? And this is not a right or wrong answer, and it doesn't mean your answer will, stay the same always. How much income per month would you like to live on for the rest of your life in your retirement? So whatever age you put for at what age you want to retire for number 1, when you're wanting to understand this, is considering at what age, what is your life projection? Like, at what age do you anticipate passing on? Which I know some of us are like, I'll never die, but no one checks out alive. But if it's, age 80, 90, 95, you'll want to kind of note that as well. So how much money per month would you like to have for the rest of your life during your retirement? And in parentheses, put down the number of years from your retirement age to the age of your anticipated transition. That's a T word. I couldn't find a C word.
When do I expect to transition? Okay. Got it.
Okay. Now, here's a fun question and very important. What are some of your big goals and dreams in your retirement? If you had a magic wand, that means I don't want you to judge your answers or what you're thinking. If you had a magic wand, paint the picture. You have a paintbrush, you got the canvas in front of you.
I'm just giggling because my parents, who are in their 80s now, when they retired at 65 or something, they had planned their whole lives of things they wanted to do in their retirement. But by the time they got there, their ideas were totally different than what they had. It'll morph.
Well, that's the thing. Be curious.
Yeah, right. Keep an open mind and heart. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giggling at mine because one of them is stay home.
Yes.
Most people's it's travel. And I'm like, I've done enough of that.
It's like underrated.
Yes, I've done my travel before retirement. Okay.
And then write down for yourself, how much money can you comfortably put aside each month to reach all of your dreams and goals in retirement? And where you're starting is not as important as the habit of starting. Might be $200 a month, might be $500 a month, might be less. There's no minimum. I'm not saying there's a minimum.
So it's important to be consistent in a realistic amount. That's to start right away than it is to try to finagle or strategize some mega windfall of some kind.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about starting, having the courage to write it down, because the vision that we create for ourselves isn't so much about being attainable. Like, well, does that make sense? Like, no, it's about something like makes you cry, It's like, not being so concerned about like how enormous it is, but being more concerned about fighting for it and not worrying about like, it's always something to aim for, and our vision is what guides us. It gives us that centeredness. There's another C word.
Yes.
I'm going to be now obsessed with centeredness. Is that a word?
Yes.
Okay.
So this, unless we have that at the core, I call it a philosophical backdrop, kind of deep down motivational, rationale for why we're doing what we're doing. If you don't have that, that's a number one thing at WifeSavers. That's one of the very first principles we learn.
Now, I know this example is probably extreme, but I was just speaking to a woman over the weekend, beautiful woman. She's from Iran, and she hasn't seen her father in 18 years. She was forced to come to the United States to pursue her education. She was going to be a doctor, and then she left that, and she hasn't seen her two beautiful kids in 7 years because she had to come here and make money. And she's like, I deserve to see my father again, and my children deserve to have me in their life again. So she's on this path, this crusade. She's so like passionate about like, I want to make my family free, financially free. Now that's a very deep, inspiring, but she was crying like, that's my why. So that's a perfect example of something very powerful. Like she said, my why makes me cry. And so I was really moved, like, wow, and for all of us, it's something, right?
Right.
And my why is I don't want women to, go through blinded in the way that I was a little bit blinded as far as putting my oxygen mask on first. And I'm grateful that I survived that time of my life. And if I hadn't started consistently saving and have some financial backing that I had put aside for myself, I wouldn't have had the time to quit my job, or I wouldn't have had the option to quit my job so I could heal and be more present for my kids. And just imagine how you could up level the quality of life of your family alone just by being there.
Right.
Just by being home, when they come home from school,
Right.
These are big things.
Yeah, big things.
Big.
All right. So we have our questions, and our number in the end is what?
Okay, so
what's the equation here?
The equation is, so you have number 2, what is the, and you're going to have to write this out, the numeric. Mm-hmm. How much money would you like to have total?
Okay.
Then how much income you want each month during your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have your number between the age you want to retire and the age that you project that you'll pass on?
Mm-hmm.
You'll take that number, right?
Right.
And then your income that you want each month, you multiply that by 12.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you want $10,000 a month. I'm just throwing out a random number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like $120,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say you're in retirement for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Retirement takes money. And I have a very wise uncle that tells me that he's been in retirement for 21 years. He says, retirement takes money. Just want to tell you, retirement takes money. I'm like, I know. Okay. Like, and he's like, I'm not kidding. I'm like, I believe you. So this is why I'm like, just be curious,
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lot of women that are young moms who are deeply concerned, wherever you are. But I'm just telling you, the compound effects of the habits alone that I'm talking about today, exponential. And at the same time, preparing their kids in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
We want to put some structures in place for our children as well as ourselves, right?
Right.
So that we're doubling up on that legacy.
Right.
But then we've also planted those seeds early on, sometimes even from birth,
Right.
Whereas you could build them a solid foundation of their own. And when you pass on your legacy, they're already nourished and the seeds are planted and they've been harvesting all these years.
Right.
So you could really,
what a gift.
in a very positive way.
Right.
This is what the Rockefellers do. Every child that's born into the family is planted with seeds of prosperity.
Wow. Oh, interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's a whole family culture.
Yes.
Tradition.
Just the way that they do it. Everybody has a culture. It's just about going, well, sometimes it's not really a culture that was focused on doing these habits and ways. See, culture. Oh, they're fast. I love it.
Thank you, Karen. All right. Oh, this is just fabulous. So our financial, what do you call it again? You call it the financial independence number is what we need to be focused on.
Yes. And to have it. And everybody deserves to walk away with what their number is.
Okay.
All
right. Yes. And now
it doesn't mean today we're going to okay, by Friday, I want you guys, no, it's, let's start getting some wins now. We know it's there, we're not going to wake up and be haunted by it every single day, but just knowing that the idea that we need more than we thought we did.
Right.
And we need to start positioning ourselves to have more. And discipline is important, but it's also, on top of that, it's about finding ways to increase our income. And sometimes it's saving money in areas that we didn't think that we could,
yes.
Turning off the auto draft of certain things that we don't need to subscribe to.
Yes. Oh, good.
These are things we don't really like to talk about. So there's a lot of mindset that I like to impart, that people do be consistent on affirmations. And that's why I love speaking to this to this forum, this group who are hungry for it and ready to implement it. And by the way, it's the first time I've done it in like a large group like this whole process. So I'm glad that I think that this could work.
Let me, excuse me, let me sort of pull things together and move us on into some Q&A.
Sure.
If after some non-emotional sort of analysis, like we were talking about here, where we're getting our clarity just from from numbers and so forth, I want to tune everyone in, or I want to do a little promo for the Thriving Moms in Business Summit that I'm going to be speaking at next week. And if you've been considering a home-based business of some kind, maybe you've been thinking about that, then this may be exactly the right thing for you. And all you need to do to register, it's totally free. It's like 24 days of a different speaker every day about moms in business. So to register, you can just use the link that's been in your newsletter that I've been sending this couple of weeks now. The last couple of newsletters or letters that you've gotten from me has the link for registering for the Thriving Moms in Business Summit. And you can also do the same thing through one of my posts on Facebook or Instagram, and you can register for that. So Marti's has just opened our eyes to what we can do, but also maybe what we need to do. And if that's something that you've been already thinking about, I highly recommend it. I know that Marti can offer us, and each one of us individually, a lot of personal help. How do we tap into that, Marti?
Yes, absolutely. So whether you're emotional or not, I want to encourage you to reach out to me, so I can handle it, so don't try to fix yourself to speak to me, it's like,
it's so good.
Yeah.
You don't have to clean before the maid comes.
I was thinking about that, but I really like that you actually said, like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So, because that's usually how I can make the quickest and fastest, shift for you. So you could go to my website, which is going to be provided in the link. And there's a way to schedule time with me. You can email me, you can call me. You can text me. And that's the best way to go about it. Explore my website. On the homepage of my website is a red banner at the top that has a complimentary financial literacy quiz. And it's fun. Okay. It's fun. So it's to test your literacy. And then afterwards you'll get your score, and then it'll kind of walk you through the steps of, why it is what it is. Right.
Oh, so, I can't wait to take it. The financial literacy quiz. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun.
Yeah. So, okay. Sounds very fun. And that's at your website.
It's on my website. Yes. So let's see here.
Emily's got all that right there in
and so, I'm definitely open to having a conversation, 20-minute one-on-one phone call, and we could explore, what your questions are in a more, a little bit more depth, and then decide. I will have, a pretty quick idea if I can help you, and if I can, I will tell you that. If I feel like there's a little bit something else that you might need and I'm not the one, I'll let you know that too. I promise you that.
Oh, okay.
And, but I definitely welcome that. I would love to hear from you and know what it is that you need help, like unlocking and shifting. It's something I'm really passionate about doing. And for such a small steps can lead to huge rewards.
If I come away with nothing but that, I feel like it's so valuable to me. That idea of the small steps and the small win lead to the big dream. Yes.
And, the other thing I want to emphasize is, even if it takes time to get to that, it's the feeling inside of like, you have the feeling of already having it before it's even there. And giving people hope like that
Ooh, I love it.
Is so powerful. Like, you know, giving people hope.
Yes.
And I know that you do that too.
Oh yeah, that's my,
like when someone walks away and they're like, okay, I think I can do this. But they feel like, at least I know someone has my back.
Yes. Right.
Someone believes in me.
Right,
you know?
right. And so I highly recommend, and you know the value of WifeSavers. And now imagine the value of what Marti's offering to become very, very clear, confident, and certain, and all those other beautiful C words in regard to your financial life, and health. I like that idea of financial health. We hear a lot about financial independence and financial freedom and everything, but it's really about our health, financial health, and it starts with all the right skills, the knowledge, and the awareness, and everything that we're talking about that will lead us to the good decisions. Okay. We are going to take some of your questions now, and if we don't get to them, Marti will try her best to answer them one-on-one with you. Also, I will be giving away a door prize at the end of our Q&A, and today's door prize is going, and they're just for fun, you know. Today's door prize is going to be the cutest little cell phone purse. It's like a crossbody cell phone purse for women, and it comes in lots of different fun colors, and it holds your credit cards and has plenty of room for your even lipstick and coins and cards and all kinds of lightweight things. And if you're like me and you just hate carrying around big purses, you're going to love this little purse. It's absolutely adorable. So we're going to do a little door prize draw randomly from whoever is left at the what hangs in there for the Q&As. So let's get to that right now. Emily is going to feed us some of those questions. We'll see how many we can get to. And we're really grateful for those of you who have come and stayed this long with us.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I know I've learned a lot. I've got pages of notes, so we really appreciate it, Marti. It's been great. It's been so exciting to hear from you personally, and I think there's probably a lot of us that are going to walk away very excited. But what I heard in the submissions from several women before coming is, how do we get our husbands on board? Right? We might be excited. We might be savers. We might have that culture of saving, but the husband may sabotage by overspending, or the husband may not want to talk about money, or the husband maybe makes all the money. And so the wife kind of feels like she's walking on eggshells because it's his money, right? But it's their money. And so speak to us about how to approach this as a couple and how to get our spouses on board with us in this process.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And it's so important, and it's plays out again and again. And I even was going, yep, you know? So I would definitely, like I said, when we were going through the questions, and I said a couple times, be curious, you know, magic wand, because I don't want you to judge yourselves. And when you're approaching your husband, which I would encourage you to do that if you think that it would be, you know, maybe, you know, not free from maybe uncomfortable feelings, but if it's going to ultimately get you to a place where you're going to agree on talking about it, that would be great. I would offer myself as someone to talk to both of you together, because that's how important it is. And there's no pressure as far as making a decision, you know, so there's no pressure. It's just having conversation of, if there's a way where I can help you get through the initial, you know, agreeable phase of let's look at this, let's talk about this. And I have a lot of success with this, because then the men know that I'm not on her side. I'm on their side. Like I'm here for the relationship. And they also feel like I've been through some stuff that they're already concerned about that their wife may not be thinking about. So ladies, I want us all to shift our mind of that. Your husband may be more concerned about the whole picture than you even are aware of. You may even be impressed with what he may say. Like an example, a couple I've worked with recently, the husband is one who works, the mom is homeschooling the children. Huge service. And he knows that at some point, since he's older by 13 years, wow, he may, pass away, and she's got several years on her own. And he's thinking, how is she going to navigate, the house, the expenses, just like the assets that are already there. And that's just so real. Absolutely. And it helps the woman feel like, wow, my husband is really carrying a lot of stress. Like he's really stressed. And the truth is, a lot of us aren't even talking about this to our best friends. Like they say, women don't talk about money, but that's all that inside they're thinking about. They're worried about. That's true. I can say I've lived that. So when you can start talking about it and giving air to your fears and concerns, it opens the doors to some real, like, deeper concerns that have solutions. And the thing is, in order for you guys to talk about it and to express it and feel safe, psychologically safe, because when a husband and wife get together and talk about money, you got to feel psychologically safe. Otherwise, let's strategize on how to open that conversation, right? So trying to avoid it is not going to be the answer, and I know you don't want to avoid it, but if you feel like you can even use those questions that I delivered today in a very curious way, please do not use it. Do not use it to make him feel bad, or do not use it to point out something, a habit that he has that you want him to see, So please only use this for positivity. Like, look, I learned this about myself. And sometimes it kind of helps ease the tension when you kind of put yourself in a way of like, wow, I kind of saw the light about something I was actually doing, and that kind of gives them the feeling of, well, since you actually kind of call it out, I think they're much less likely to go, yeah, you should feel bad, shame, but I mean, then it kind of opens the doors for them to go, well, let me put my ego aside and talk about this. And,
Okay. You know what? Everything you've just said is so WifeSavers congruent.
You and I connected for a reason.
It's just like exactly what I would have said about almost any difficult topic, but that you've got to come to a consensus on in order to move forward positively. So thank you for that. Yeah. Excellent. And I do encourage our WifeSavers that if you really have a financial, and I will going forward be referring my WifeSavers to you when they come to me with these that is the issue between them and their husband.
And know that you don't have to have a crisis for me to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
okay. Yeah, that's true.
You don't have to be in crisis.
Everything can be okay, but you just want to be so much better. And you want
everything can be okay. And sometimes you can see things like, oh, shoot, that could be an issue. I didn't even know it, where I thought everything was okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Emily, what do we have?
Just kind of as a follow-up to that, and I know this speaks to Marti, you mentioned earlier that this really speaks to you. What about the woman whose husband is away for, long periods of time, deployed, or other circumstances that might take them away from the family, which puts the woman or the wife in a new position of being more involved financially with the family and the decisions every day. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. And I'm going to use a term that speaks to a lot of women. It's their financial identity, their confidence. And I don't know if that speaks to the women here, but it's a shift that you have to have about believing in your abilities, right? Believing in yourself, it's confidence, your certainty, right? And you need to kind of step into a position. And, when we become moms, that's like our instincts turn on, right? But when you know you have no other option, you have no other option. However, don't go it alone. My son is actually serving our country. So thank you to your husband and to you, your whole family. It's on a family level, huge sacrifice, right? So it does separate you, that's the truth. And so you're going to need to be armed with confidence, certainty, that armor of knowing how to get the resources, and I would volunteer myself to help you find the right resources, because that's something that I've been obsessed with, making sure that my son knows where he's putting his money every single month, and, what the pros and cons and what the things to be aware of, Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. That's really near and dear to my heart. And, if anybody needed help, but that's something that really, really spoke to me. And that's a courageous woman in many, many ways.
So we need to we need to be a lot more educated and there's a lot of support. Resources.
Yes, there's so many resources. And if we pull back the curtain, like, oh my gosh, and that was something I got very good and strong at when my mom was ill. She had some things in place to protect herself, but I was like squeezing all the juice out of all the resources that's available to seniors and, Social Security. So all these different programs that were, there, but if people didn't know about it, they didn't have the benefit of it to say.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just know, here's another thing that will help you feel really good quickly is that, hey, there's resources. Oh my gosh, I didn't know about this. So that kind of gets the wheel going more quickly.
And for military wives, there's just got to be a lot of support networks and
yes,
resources and professional resources.
There's groups. Oh, absolutely. So I have access to groups like that too, because there's parents that need that support too. So absolutely.
Well, you know what? One of our unique WifeSaver glossary terms is the talent. And we talk about, we don't have to be naturally gifted in something to develop a talent. Right. And a talent is a purposeful undertaking that we strive to learn and then polish and perfect over time. And relationship skills are one of those talents, if not a primary talent in a WifeSaver life. But so here's another talent. We become financially talented, and that becomes part of our financial identity. Like, I'm just good at this. I'm good at this. Or I'm learning. I'm a student of this, and I'm learning, getting better and better at it. So that is critical for any woman at any time in life.
It is.
But for this military wife in particular, faced with, I have a long period of time here that I'm going to be doing this, then that's a talent she's going to have to prioritize.
That's a talent, and she doesn't have to do it alone. She can recruit people as friends, as their support. You have the skill. Can you oversee that I'm doing everything the right way in this area over here?
Oh, good. Yeah, there's lots of people who'd want to support her.
Having that community.
Yes.
Community, C word.
Yeah.
So community of amazing people, just like we all are. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so true. I know, like in my church community, there would be lots of people who would have the expertise and would be very happy to help. Okay. Beautiful. Emily, give us another question.
Yeah. So some of us, as you kind of referenced earlier, some of us are moms of younger children, and we might be home just raising children. Like you said, we're working hard, but we may not be bringing income in, or we might be unemployed. There was somebody who wrote about, my husband works, he's got the bank account, I'm unemployed. They might be feeling, well, this is all well and good, but I'm not bringing it in. So how can I keep it and save it and do all those things? Obviously, hopefully their husbands are, but for people who might not be bringing in as much as they'd like, or people who aren't working, do you still work with them? And what kind of counsel do you offer to them?
Absolutely, I do. I was there myself, a good decade I was supporting myself. And then when I got married, we have two boys. And for the first 10 years, I knew what I could leverage to grocery shopping, bills. But, it was the whole day to day, like I don't have a check coming in to me. I want to go shopping, because I want to buy clothes. I need stuff. We all need stuff, right? And it's like, I need this. And sometimes it's not comfortable, and it's just having those conversations and not letting it build up. But I want to also take it to the next step, because Ramona, I'm so glad you started talking about the talent, right? And one of the mentors I follow online, his name is Dan Locke. He talks about having a high income skill and how you can monetize your high income skill. As women, we are skilled. We're smart. We're very capable. We're very resourceful. And when we come together in a community like this, wow, we are a powerful force, right?
Right.
However, it's very easy for us to overlook that. Oh, it's okay. But you know what? Here's a homework assignment I want to leave you guys with, all of us, myself included, is to see what high income skills you have. Because if you can lead yourself in that way, I have an affirmation for you. I am the leader to myself that nobody else can be for me. When you can lead and empower yourself, nothing can stop you. And that doesn't mean you're just alone and I don't need of course you need your husband, but you're positioning yourself as like he is beneficiary to us. Okay. So he's going to feel excited and relieved that, oh my gosh, she wants to bring something to the table, And so that's the conversation he's willing to have. But if we come with, I'm not saying anybody does this, but I have, but weepy and all that stuff is just it's not progressive.
The needy thing. It's draining on the relationship.
18 hours straight.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't help. So I want to get that affirmation down. I am the leader for myself that no one, how did it finish?
I am the leader to myself that no one else can be to me. And I implemented that by working with a business coach a couple of years ago. And I work in a male-dominated environment, okay? And so I felt a lot of dogma, do this, go, go, go. It's like, I don't know. That is not, women will be repelled by that. I would never say that. And so I had to find my own centeredness, my own grounding, and really lead on purpose. And what I knew what the core problems were because I have lived them, and I've found ways to kind of find solutions to them. And so that's been so powerful for me. And it's helped my life blossom in every way.
All different areas of your life.
And I'll tell you also, I'll take it to the next step. My husband was a little bit concerned when I changed careers in 2016. And I'm very stubborn and very determined, which worked to and I'm also delusional. But in order to get to where you want to go, sometimes that delusional Daniela will serve you. There's a healthy aspect of being delusional. I look back and go, oh my gosh, thank God I didn't realize what I was doing when I was doing it, right? And sometimes you have to go through fire to get to the other side, or go through that, river dam, and thank God I just survived. Thank God I survived it. Now I better teach somebody. Don't do that because I don't want you to drown.
So you're talking to a sister here. Yeah, I totally get that.
I know, right?
Oh, that's fun. Okay. Yeah. Oh, such valuable inspiration, insight. Emily, do we have any more? Maybe just one, maybe more?
Yeah, I'm just curious, Marti, you talk about setting aside savings, and this may tie into you as well, Ramona. Do you ever recommend that a woman have a savings apart from what she shares with her husband for hard times? Or do you always recommend that you do this as a couple and it's just all yours, ours kind of a thing, rather than the little cash box under the bed that you keep for a tough time on your own?
You know what? I'm going to say that there's no shoulds, right? But I do feel like a woman should be realistic, no matter what, even when she's a little girl, right? And so to empower our women, and young girls to make themselves resilient. And
Ooh, that's a good word.
It doesn't mean that we have an ulterior motive, right? Or like, I got my back, it's like a lot of men, I think, are attracted to that initially. Like, okay, this woman has her like I's dotted and T's crossed, right? And so that may be very attractive because this is something that I hear a lot from men. Actually, by default, I'm hearing a lot of men share their inner worries and concerns. In fact, men tend to reveal more to a female financial professional rather than a male. And they're often like really relieved that I've come into the picture. And
I bet I bet.
But I do initially talk to women because it's not really successful if a man tries to introduce me to his wife to help them with their money, because there's like, what are your intentions? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I would say, have your wife reach out to me. I would love to talk to your wife. So that way he's off the hook. But it's really important for women to have herself, not exposed. Like, you definitely want, it totally makes sense. I mean, you would have enough food in the refrigerator, in the cupboard. Why would you not want to have emergency funding, And, if we let that default to the man's responsibility, that's what I'm trying to empower women to get away from. In fact, it's helping the men. Like, they may not know it up front, but they're really grateful, So whatever, if it's to just, give yourself permission absolutely to have that. And speaking of the talents and the high income skill, that's a perfect, intention to have for yourself. I want to start my own business. I want to do this. So this is my nest egg, Your employer, if you're employed, your employer will do that. Well, they'll have your retirement fund in your name, right? So if you don't have an employer doing it, you need to be doing this,
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah. So I don't want to paint the picture of like, oh yes, this is only for somebody who might be thinking I might be in a precarious position,
Right.
Regardless, I think it's healthy and right and appropriate to do that for yourself.
Right.
Because, your husband wasn't there since you were a child, or, I mean, so growing up is something that we want our children to be able to do,
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. There's several more questions, aren't there, Emily? Or did you kind of synthesize them for us?
I tried to synthesize them so we hit the major themes.
Okay.
Many people asked about the best way to invest and things like that. And in talking with Marti prior to the webinar, she suggested that would be better handled on a personal call, where she could look at your personal situation. It's not something she can answer as well generally, from what I understood.
Yeah. There's no one size fits all. And, obviously we want certainty and the confidence. Stability, and those are things that I can definitely address. So, so I can say that right now. So that might give you, the enthusiasm to want to talk to me more, because there might be ways to do that for you. But I would be delighted to hear from you. I hear people saying thank you, this and that. So it tells me that it resonates. And I told Emily earlier, like, I really connected with these women. Like last time I read the questions, like I almost cried. Like, I love them already, that they're, they have the courage and, the conviction to, there's another C word, conviction, to take a stand for themselves.
Yeah.
Take a stand for it.
Oh, I love that. Yes, yes. Well, Marti, we are incredibly grateful for the incredible amount of inspiration that you've given us today. I know that we're all going to go out of here thinking a little differently, or a lot differently, about our financial identity, our relationship basically with our money and with money in general. And then, and we're going to find a way to synthesize it so that we're working in a greater partnership with our partner as well, with our husband, and all to his benefit and our children's benefit. We don't have to feel guilty about this pursuit we're going to take on now to become more smart financially. We do not need to feel guilty about it because it's all to the benefit of our loved ones. And really, isn't that our why in the end? Isn't that the why in the end, is for our loved ones as well as ourselves?
Absolutely, because we want to leave them a legacy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A loving, yes.
Yes, and the legacy is in dollar bills, but the legacy is also in that mentality and that culture, that Rockefeller culture, where it is. Where
it is. And, being like passing on whatever we can, whether it be money or love or our time in the living years. Like my children, when my boys were, 12 and 14, I quit my job, and I was in time debt, about 18 months after my mom had passed away. So I needed to reconcile some life events that I missed because I was tunnel vision on, I had talents, and I allowed myself to carry the lion's share. And I didn't take a stand for myself. In hindsight, this is the raw truth. I didn't take a stand for myself and my family to say, I need support. And I'll say one more thing to this is that when a woman is the sole independent person carrying the load, the whole family will suffer. The whole family is at risk. So communication is key. So it really puts the whole family.
Amen. Amen. And we're not talking necessarily about single moms. That's a huge responsibility of itself.
Yeah, for example,
but in a marriage, and you're the one who's carrying the whole load. And I work with women like that all the time, and they're very unhappy. I do too. Very unhappy.
Yeah, and the thing is, some of us are the type. Also, I could be the one who could default to that, not because. And people can get used to it. It's
they get used to it.
Just because I can doesn't mean I should. You know? So that's a prototype. I guess you could say I work very, very well because I'm laser focused. I know exactly those finite little things, that are.
You get it's so obvious that you get all the subtleties and all the hidden factors and everything that's why you're so effective as a woman working with women and men too. And you said,
I love
the subtleties that they're going.
When the women will let me into her space and then say. Sometimes it's oh, my husband, and I might have to get him too, but it's not as difficult, at all, because sometimes they're first well, if you're choosing the person, okay, I'd rather talk about than not talk about it. And some men are wanting their wives to, but I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to talk about it. So, okay. So.
Wow, there's so.
I don't think we have that. So.
I can't think of anything more complex and more relevant and of greater concern to women than two things: relationships, primarily marriage and children, of course, and money. So I am so thankful that we were able to bring those two things together today, and I'm very excited for our WifeSavers members to think about these things and then take action on them. Again, we invite you to contact Marti, learn more, and be sure to take the financial literacy quiz at her website. I'm excited about that. And again, I'll tell you, come hear me and many other amazing speakers starting next week at the Thriving Moms Summit. You'll need to register through the email link in my email or at my social sites. All right, Marti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I can't wait to hear from you.